You're listening to The Moose and the Loose, your 10 minutes action-packed financial podcast with your host, Mike Yahoo. Hey, what's up, Market Moose? This is Mike from The Moose on the Loose. I hope you are doing well. Bonne Saint-Jean-Baptiste to my fellow Québécois. Today, we are going to do a special 10 companies, actually 12 companies, because I thought was going to do like a top 5. And then I realized that there were a lot of company where their headquarters are based in Quebec. So I thought of discussing of those great dividend paying stocks that are based in Quebec for La Saint-Jean-Baptiste, right? All right, so we're going to start with some usual suspect that, of course, I talk about them all the time on the podcast, but not because they're Québécois, but rather because they are amazing companies. And those two are like part of my largest holdings, part of my favorite dividend growers, and it's Alimentation Couche-Tard and National Bank. I'd say that if there are like two companies that I would put on any team, that would be those two. Alimentation Couche-Tard is the second largest convenience store in the world. It grows by acquisition, it grows organically, it has a wide network, it benefits from economies of scale, and by selling most of their products and their brands, they are improving their margin. So definitely a company that I love to have in my portfolio, one of my largest holding as well. Then we have National Bank, that has been the best performing Canadian bank outside of EQB, because EQB, I mean, it's like 2 billion market cap. It's a really small bank, but out of the big six, National Bank has outperformed all the other bigger competitors over the past 3, 5, 10, 15 years, has been the most generous for the dividend growth and showing the lowest dividend payout ratio, which, I mean, all things considered, if you just look at the metrics, National Bank is definitely a very solid pick. And not too long ago, they made an offer to acquire Canadian Western Bank. So if you have not looked at that, just go back in Moose on the Loose archive. And I've discussed this twice, actually, the purchase and the play that I would be making. I think it was last week, so not too long ago. Now we are going to go on another classic, another Québécois classic, Metro. MRU.TO, smallest of the big three compared to Empire and Loblaws for the grocery stores. They also run a drugstore, so it's the typical business model. They have Brunet and Jean Coutu as their drugstores brand, and then they have their Metro and Super C as their grocery brands, mostly based in Quebec and on Ontario, so they still look to grow outside of the Belle Province. That makes them like more flexible. They have like more growth potential, but they are facing very stiff competition. So you just have to be careful with those type of like companies. One thing that I like about Metro is they have not unlocked their property values. So we have Choice Properties and Crombie REITs, which were spin-offs of Empire and Loblaws real estate properties. Metro still owns all their locations, so that could unlock more value in the future. So that could be interesting. Another one that is low yield, high growth stock that I do not have in my portfolio, but definitely have. I really respect this company, and sometimes I wish I had it put in my portfolio. Dollarama, DOL.TO, the largest dollar store in Canada. They have now doors open in Mexico and in Central America through their investment in Dollar City. They are able to grow by opening new stores, and they found ways to improve their margin and sell more stuff inside their stores. Another great thing for them right now in terms of the economic condition is as budgets are getting tightened a little bit more, people will look for deals, they will look for cheap stuff, and they will go to Dollarama. So this one, definitely a recession resilient type of business. Definitely on the growth mode as well. Another one that I find quite interesting because it offers over 100,000 different products, and it's Richelieu Hardware. So when you're thinking about any like small hardwares and fixtures in your like for cabinets, in your kitchen, in your bathroom, like all of those little pieces, well, chances are it's going to be sold by Richelieu Hardware. They are present in Canada and also in the US. And the fact that they're selling like so many different bits and pieces makes them a little bit more resilient. Of course, they will trend according to the construction market. So when the construction market is slowing down and there's less housing starts, it will impact Richelieu Hardware on the bad side. So depending on the year, like last year, they it's been like a little bit more than 12 months. They didn't increase their dividend. They've done that in the past. And then when the market is doing very well for them, they reward their shareholders handsomely. So a little bit less stable than some others. Another one that could be interesting for some of you, Québécois. Québécois is known to be to manage to operate Videotron, which is probably their biggest and most valuable asset, because it offers internet services, cable services, and also wireless services, mostly in Quebec. During the Rogers and Shaw merger, they were able to snitch the acquisition of Freedom Mobile because, of course, the Canadian government wanted to improve a little bit the competition in the wireless industry. So they told Rogers, you have to sell that part to somebody else. You cannot acquire that from Shaw. So Quebecard growing a little bit more on their wireless side with this. The problem I see with them is their cable business and their media business is definitely struggling, as is the case for most media businesses in Canada right now. People are cutting down cables. They do have like TVA and sports entertainment. This is not going that well either. So they kind of like always rely on their internet services and wireless services to bring the boat back to float. That's a problem for long term, but could be interesting to see how they will turn things around in the future. Another one that is interesting, a small cap, highly volatile, but the CEO is like super motivated. He wants to build a huge business out of this, and it's Savaria. Savaria, SIS.TO. They mostly focused on adapting mobility for persons, so for handicaps or for seniors, so in the house, in cars, elevators, stuff like that. So they're doing very well. They grow by acquisition, but they're relatively small. So whenever they make an acquisition and they have to borrow a lot of money, well, then it weight on their balance sheet and increase the risk. So this one is quite intriguing, quite exciting, but this is not a position in my portfolio that I would put like 3, 4, 5%. It would be more like an educated guess, in my opinion. We do have another one that I almost forgot, but BRP, recreative stuff like the good old Skidoo, right? So the ticker is DOO, DOO.TO. They have been on a tear. They've done incredibly well, very strong dividend triangle for a while. Unfortunately, a low yield, high growth stocks after the pandemic. Now, since 2022, the stock price has pretty much remained stable, so slightly on a slow trend. So after a big hype, that's usually what happens. Of course, they are selling goods that are just going to be purchased if the economy is doing well. So they will expect a slowdown in the coming years due to interest rates. But the forward P ratio is at 14, so it's not that bad actually. So that could be also on your buying list. Then we do have a few companies that I was actually surprised to see that their headquarters was in Quebec. The first one is Stella Jones, SJ.TO. I don't know, like I thought it was like coming from Western or Ontario, but yeah, apparently that their headquarters in Quebec. So I was quite surprised. Stella Jones is part of my investments, part of my portfolio. Great company selling railway ties, utility poles, and residential lumbers. So they're well diversified. They grow by acquisition. I really like that kind of business model. And railway ties and utility poles will protect them from a big movement in the commodity price. Another one that I was surprised to see as an headquarter in Quebec was Canadian National Railway. I mean, one of the largest railroad in North America is based in Quebec. So this one classic, boring railroad company. I mean, if you could be a CP guy or a CNR guy, I don't see the difference. Both are great companies and they have like a multi-asset, which are railroads, so which is definitely interesting. I'm running a bit out of time because we're getting close to that 10-minute, but I just wanted to also highlight that there are like two deluxe bonds, companies with high yield, but not much growth potential, that are based in Quebec. So those two are Power Corporation, and this one, I swear, I was certain that they were based in Ontario, and then BCE as well, Bell. So two generous dividend payers, but I would proceed with caution. For Power Corporation, a little bit harder to analyze if you're not familiar with Great-West Life and IGM and how the investment world works. So this one is a little bit more touchy on this side. And for Bell, it's definitely struggling to grow right now. The weight of their debt is struggling their cash flow as well. So this one to be looked at with great attention and great cautions. So, all right, Moose, that's enough for today. 12 stocks in 10 minutes. That's quite a feat, right? So I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. We're going to go back tomorrow again with more dividend talks. And in the meantime, do not forget to stay invested.
Hey, welcome to the disclaimer. If you're listening to The Moose and the Loose, you cannot really expect me to give you buy or sell recommendation or financial advice, right? You're here for fun, you're here for information and some entertainment. But I am not your financial advisor, I am not your broker, so therefore I'm not liable if you're losing money after listening to the podcast. If you're looking for some advice, go see a professional. If not, you can enjoy the show and do your due diligence after it.